Hey, KA, how you doing? Is the sound okay and the video all right? Can you hear and see all right? Oh, good. Great. Ah, okay. Well, we're just getting started, so we can talk about anything you want. Hi, Finnegan, the ninja. Good. Thanks. Hi, Bmatic. What would you guys, what's an important topic that we can kick around? Or what's an unimportant topic we can kick around? Or something we can just sort of give it a give it a whirl right now. Hi, Alberto. Watches and wonders. Oh my goodness. I guess that's coming up pretty soon, isn't it? Ka, when is that? Is that in like March or April, something like that? Hi, Fernando. Oh, good. April. Okay. So yeah. So, what do you think is coming up new? Uh, there are two things I'm expecting. Hi, Finnegan the Ninja. Hi, what do you think of the high horology Bulgari watches? I think if you're really smart, you can get a great watch for a good price, a Bulgari. The best price, the best deal, I think, is on the Bulgari Octo Roma. The Octo Roma was originally, I don't know what it was originally, 789, something in there. You can find these on the secondary market for a lot less than that. The BVL, I think it's the BVL 19, is the movement, Finnegan. So I think those are now you like the skeleton chronograph and tourbillon. Oh, okay. Now that's those are usually cost a good deal more. I'm not sure about too much. Excuse me. Okay, does anybody have any other ideas about what's going on as far as the watches and wonders is concerned? Any ideas? You know, this is what I fear is coming up. We're going to see a lot more silicon in the hairsprings, but I decided that's a good thing, and here's why. Your really good watches are going to have something other than silicon. Silicon is sort of like a really great solution. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if someone says, "Well, if your if your life depends on it for the right time, would you rather have a silicon or something else?" Well, I'd rather have a silicon, but I'd also rather have a smartwatch than either one of those, or even a quartz watch. But I didn't get into this crazy hobby of ours so I could use the latest technology, because the latest technology is, decades beyond what the kind of technology that is in our watches. Um, I just got this one. This is my latest thing. I got this great deal on this. Not Let me see if I can put this here on this Moritz Grossmann, and it's got everything about a watch that I like. It's got a low frequency at 18,800 semi oscillations per hour. It's hand wound. Um, Everything. I mean, and but here's the thing about it: it keeps really, really good time. Now, if you stick in a silicon hairspring, you don't have to worry about anything. You set it for whatever frequency. Most of them seem to be clicking at 4 hertz right now, and just put it in there, and heat, cold is not affected by that. You can adjust it. Forget about adjusting it. If you want to go in there and do a little of your own stuff, you can't do it. But on the other hand, if you look at the really top watchmakers, none of them are using those. But if you look at the most popular ones, they are. If you take Patek Philippe, Swatch, which is everything, and then Rolex. This is the thing that Rolex has, for the most part, stuck with the Parachrome hairspring for their main line of men's watches, but their little sister, I, I don't want the little sister, Tudor, seems to have been adopting it because they have. But anyway, it's sort of like I almost said Rolex's little sister, that slut, but I didn't say that. So I just want to go on record of saying what I didn't say. Hey, Fernando, I think AP will discontinue let's see, the 1547 ST. Okay. Rolex, the 2024, is the 70th anniversary on GMT. Why would AP discontinue that, Fernando? I think, here's an easy prediction. I bet they're going to come out with another model of the Royal Oak. That's my prediction from Audemars Piguet. I love Audemars Piguet, though. I really do. For lots of reasons, but and I really like this plain simple Royal Oak, the first one that Gerald Genta designed. Some of the offshore and some of these other ones are a little much. Has been run since 2006, and they are rolling the new 39 skeleton model. Hey, John, how you doing? Care to comment on Armand Nicolette? Are they any good? I'm trying to figure that out. I saw some watches by them, and those are good looking watches, but I have no idea about what kind of movement that they have. So there you go. Hey, Truman, God, lucky us too. Glad you could catch us. So I don't know, John, about as far as Armand Nicolette, no, Nicolet, I guess would be how to pronounce it. I don't know that much about them. I've seen a few of them and sort of wondered, but I haven't wondered that much, I guess. My fault. So can you tell us anything about it? I mean, have you know anything about their move or anything? Hey, Chili Badger. Wearing a Chopard Grand Turissimo XL right now. Great watch. Good to hear. Is that one of the watches with Chili Burger? Is that one of their Geneva Seal watches? I don't know. Okay, John, they're using some old historical movements they found. Do you know what kind of historical movements they're using? Are they using like old Valjeus? Are they using like old Hamiltons, like I think Roland Murphy is using? Anything like that? Hi, Abdul. How you doing? Dialing in from my lunch break. Good to see you. Enjoy your lunch. They have some old. Okay, yeah. No, it's something. I think, John, it does sound like an interesting brand worth spending some time trying to find out something about. That's going to be important. Yeah, I'm going the opposite direction. I got about 5 watches that I'm going to sell. For lots of reasons. One, I've got these Larique watches, two and a third of which I paid for, and so I got to pay for the other 2/3 of that. And then there's a watch I found I really want, but I can't have it unless I sell some other watches. Plus the fact that you get to a point in your collection where you're just not wearing certain watches, and why not let somebody else enjoy them? So I'm gonna unload those. Somebody had said, "Well, aren't you going to let us see them first?" And I was thinking, no, I'm not. But then I thought about it. I put together a little video with them, and if anybody's interested in them, I'll have it for a week. Okay, then they're going to either to auction or some other place. Okay, Yori, what's up? Hello from Belgium. You often refer to Romain Gauthier for the quality of the watch components movements in the Monsieur Chanel. Yeah. What do you think about the models? Okay. Hi, Goldfinger. What do I think about Romain Gauthier models? I think this. I can't afford them. I mean, they're one of the best watches in the world, and I can't afford them. That's what I think about them. But I'm very happy to get my mitts on that Chanel Monsieur because um, that first of all, I wanted the jumping hours with the retrograde minutes. That was one thing. I love the design that they have of it, but they own part of Gauthier. I don't know how much they own. 20%, it seems, of certain other companies, and they just bought 17%. LVMH bought 17% of, oh no, not of Chanel, of Hermes. I'm sorry, mixing up my good ones. Hi, Abdul, how you doing? Okay, John, Unitas, Venus, etc., etc. Okay, those sound like they ought to be pretty interesting. Okay, I'm looking at the other brands and Rolex per your suggestion. If you like Rolex, stick with it. You know, I've got to the point where, hey guys, you like Rolex, just knock yourself out and leave the rest to me so I don't have as much competition. Oh, hey, Chili Burger. My Chopard XL Gin, I think it's COSC, but it's water resistant to 100 meters. Wow, you could go to Davy Jones' locker in that one, Chili Burger. Finnegan, Romain Gauthier's Fusée is amazing. All of his things are amazing, Finnegan. I really, it's just like I said, certain watches that I really like. Roger Smith. I'd love to have a Roger Smith. I can't afford that. Gerbel Force. Uh, there's all kinds of watches that are just like way up here. And I'm always looking for a deal somewhere like sort of a combination between a mole rooting around and a vulture waiting for something to snap up. Hi, Mark. How you doing, man? Abdul Moise, is that my fave FP watch? I hope so. This is my FP Journe Chronomet Cervane Platinum. And this watch is one that I just, certain watches, you look at that, well, it's just a watch and it's got there's something about it that I like. It's, sometimes the heft of a watch is important to me, and all kinds of things that are important. Hand wound, 3 hertz, those are the kinds of things I like in my watch. One thing that would be cool if somebody came out with, well, let's say a brand that we could all maybe afford, okay? And it had a key wound in it, a key wind. And I'll tell you why. If we had a key wound watch, all the keyless works can go out, okay? And all you have is that one place to wind it up, put the key aside, then have a nice open back, and you can look at all the works in there and see how everything works. I think that'd be great fun. John Burgess, Pezou. That's a nice brand. I like Pezou. I had a Pezou 7001, which was, of course, the ETA, but still, I liked it. They got a really good reputation. They're very small, though. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what they're doing. What's his name? The company you just mentioned, uh, John. What they're doing, I think, is really cool. I really do. They're taking good movements and that would seem to be affordable, cleaning them up and putting them in new watches. I think that's great. Can't afford Laurent Fleurier. Yeah. It's funny about Laurent Fleurier. I went into Cellini's and I was looking at some, and because I love their design, but I tried them on and they just didn't feel right. And it was, I don't know why they didn't have the right heft. Now it could have been the models I was looking at, but they just felt, I don't know, not right to me. Now, if I had perhaps if I had tried on ones from platinum or gold, they'd have the heft and some other aspects of them that I like. But I think, there's just gorgeous watches, though. Fernando, I didn't mean to give you the virus. We'll give you. We had to wear a mask. Oh, yeah, you never know, Chronomet Loon. Ooh, the Chronomet Loon's a nice one, Fernando. That's a beauty. Really is. Hi, Equus Lucas. How you doing, man? What do you think of Anordain's Fume enamel dials? I think the only brand that does something similar is H. Moser, but curious if there are any others. You know something? I got to tell you, I didn't expect it. I got a Lone Jeans, something, big long name they have, that they made in 1989 to celebrate some 100th anniversary or something like that with the Lone Jeans. And I got it for the equation of time, and that's not handy. But anyway, that thing has the thickest, richest enamel dial. So Lone Jeans might be one to look at on that. And they make really good watches. That's one of those companies that I think, because of their association with Swatch and ETA, they're going to have a cheap movement and they're not very good. I think they're much better. Unfortunately, they're probably going to go start sticking one of those blasted silicone hairsprings in them. Anordain stuff. Yeah, I think, I don't, whatever Anordain does, they can't have a one-trick pony. We make this kind of disc. The dial. Speaking of, you don't want to hear this. Anordain doesn't want to hear this. This is an enamel dial. This is our faux Breguet or Breguet Nouveau that we made, part of a pretentious watchmaker project. And they had it. So we wanted to come as close as we could to a Breguet Classique, $22,000 Classique. This one set us back $87, so it wasn't one of those cheap ones. And 41 millimeters instead of 40. Okay, so Suez got a nice case back. It's got a Siegel movement. You know something too, and I regulated this thing. I regulated the daylights out of it, and it's doing 1 second. It's just fantastic. Yeah, it's like 12-17. That thing has been, and I've been winding it a lot. Same with this guy. Moritz Grossmann watches there's another example of watch. I can't afford a Moritz Grossmann. I wanted one for a long time. Couldn't afford it. Found this great deal and bought it before. Then I told everybody about it, but I bought it first. It was was unused. Hey, I found another one. I found a really good deal on an H. Moser. Now I've got my H. Mosers. I got two wonderful ones, and so I'm not in the market for an H. Moser right now. But I found a really good one, and I don't know if it's been put on Chrono 24 yet. It was not a cheap one, but it's a lot less expensive than that model. And somebody got a hold on a of unused one, unsold, brand new, and they put it on Chrono 24. I think it's about 20 something, so it's not cheap, but I mean two it's available and it's a pretty good deal. Anardane makes amazing watches. The enamel dials are beautiful. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I've handled multiple FP Journe watches. I know exactly what you mean about the Souverain. It feels different. Yeah, it's really neat. And the longest one in his collection, I believe. You mean on terms of the longest weight, it may be. Abdul likes Anordain. They're a Scottish company, I believe, aren't they? I wish I opted for the Fume upgrade. Now waiting list goes up to 2028. Good for them. Not good for you, Abdul. Abdul, you have some special watches too coming along, if I'm not mistaken. Now we got two Abduls today. Okay, we'll have Abdul M and Abdul R watches. Watches Abdul. I feel that Laurent Ferrier is too expensive for its heft on the hand. Maybe using platinum might make the case, uh, in my opinion. Currently, they feel too light. That was my experience too, Abdul. Hey, Dave, I think what's happening with Tudor is that the Hans Wildorf Foundation is positioning them to compete against Omega. Maybe part of that is Tudor seeking Oh, yeah, that's right. That's a good point, David. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, they're coming out and bragging about their metas that they passed metas. Well, this is another thing. You put a silicon hairspring in, and presto changeo. Sure, yeah, they can pass one of those without. I mean, really, those things are very good. You make it just like a quartz watch. Put a few more of those things in there, and it's hard. I know, if not impossible, to get 15,000 Gauss magnet. Yeah, they're getting 15,000 Gauss, so they just get it from the silicon, David. That's no great shakes. I don't think. Um, I don't know. This guy, he gets over magnetized every now and then. The last time I sent it in, I told him about it and hasn't behaved itself ever since. Hello, 1 minute. Grandpa. Grandpa. Well, let's see. I saw one of my grandsons. He started college, so that was fun. So the family's great. How about yourself, 1 minute? So 2024, 25, Larique 4. Yeah. Oh, hey, by the way, Abdul, I'm going to have a little thing up about our kickoff of the Larique number 3. We had one with Larique number 2, and I want to have one for Larique number 3. Finnegan the Ninja, do you know what happened to FP Journe as in the Actual Man at that dinner a few months ago? Apparently, he took clients out and said or did some things. FP Journe personally has done some jerky stuff more than once, okay? And I for some reason, as long as he makes good watches, I'm okay with it. I don't have to spend a lot of time with him to enjoy his watches. The one time I had some interaction with FP Journe, I met him in New York, and I had my FP Journe chronomet uh, resonance on, and uh, it was the from 2002, and so it's 38 millimeters in the rose gold, and with the original format. So I showed it to him, and so he takes it and he's looking at it, like, and then he pulls out his loop and he looks at it some more. And then he hands it back to me, and I thought I was going to say, gee, guy, I'm sorry, it's a fake. He didn't say that. He said, this is really in good shape. So that's my interaction with him, which has been fantastic. I know there was some dinner party and he insulted everybody and acted like a big jerk. Not the first time I've heard that. There's some other things I feel it would be sort of telling tales out of school a little much too, because there are some other things he's done that people, he's really not very well loved, but his watches are, and so it's the kind of thing that you wish he was more likable. Okay, it just is just the way he is, and what can anybody say? Never mind. There's some. I don't want to sound like a gossip. There's some other watchmakers who used to be really nice and seem to have gotten sort of. Never know. I'm interested in Chopard these days because of the Schulfel family and the Geneva seal watches. Yeah. Don't they have? Isn't Chopard located both in Fleurier and in Geneva cantons? I believe. Okay, 1 minute, please. Ours is fine. Okay, yours, what? Oh, your family's fine. Good to hear it. In India, good. We call our elders not by their names, as seen in this. Okay. 1 minute. Call me what you like. Your elders. What makes you think I'm an elder? Hey, Abdul, most geniuses are not the most sociable people. Well, I am. I'm sociable, Abdul. So are you. A lot of them are, yeah. What do you think of JLC duometry quantum lumiere? I love that one. Oh, I like it too, Yuri. That's a beauty. That's a honey of a watch. Really like that one. Mwah. I guess a lot of the big artists are quite eccentric, like F.P. Jarn. I tell you, a guy who's wonderful, from everything I've heard, is Jean-Marc Wiederreck of Agenor. Everyone that I've talked to has nothing but good things to say about him as being a person. Really great guy. I'm glad to hear that. Hey, Hater, how you doing, man? I got a Hater. I'm running some emails to me through the lyrique.chf. I hope you don't mind. Okay, through our website. Bunch of stuff that I'm doing to get watches and pay bills and watches that I already have. Anyway, okay. What else is up? What is something that is like, oh, I hope they don't do that? Anybody have any? Oh, I hope they don't do that. Beside raising prices, I hope they lower prices. That would be nice. But I mean, I would like to see great quality and something. And when I say affordable, we're not talking. I mean, we're talking like, I'm thinking something under $10,000. Now, most people will have a major discussion for something under 10,000, under 5,000, under 1,000. It will be a big family discussion. Well, should we get this or not? What do you want to do? Well, I don't know. Whereas with watch guys, oh my God, it's only $25,000. I got to get one before they go up. I think we all belong in a loony bin. I hope Rolex doesn't do any more of the puzzle dials. The quote at the end of this movie, famous movie called Gone with the Wind, Clark Gable said, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." That's why I, no offense, Finnegan, but that's my opinion. And like I said, I don't mean that to you, but it's like, they can put Bozo the Clown on. I tell you, one of my favorite Rolexes, if I ever got a Rolex, would be finding one of those Domino Pizza ones. I love that idea. The guy who's the head of Domino's, I guess he got, for if his managers performed well, they got a Rolex with Domino's Pizza on it. That is so fun. That to me is, I like those kinds of things. If that's not an, I don't know whether they were trying to be ironic or not, but I think that's a great great way to look at it. What here's a hope that I hope that Rolex, if I hope they don't start cramming replacing their parachrome hairsprings with silicon, or what they call siloxy. And if they do, I hope they have something like this. I hope they have another watch like the Prince, the like the Cellini Prince. So look at the back of that thing. Here's this beautiful movement, hand wound. I think it's 2.5 or 3 hertz. What a wonderful watch. Well, I hope they make one of those for hobbyists. They did a lot of things that were super innovative with that, but most Rolex fans like, nah, that's not what we want. Okay. Mm. The Domino's one is great. Such a piece. What for an employee? I agree. I mean, if you got to be a manager at a Domino's, I got my watch. I got my Rolex. I think it's cool. Hey, Michael, how you doing? From Dan Diego. Where's? Oh, good. I'm glad you got a live chat. Hey, 1 minute. This year I got a new G-Shock. My interest is going away from watches. I started using fountain pens. I love fountain pens. This is my Pelican. I use this one all the time. I have terrible handwriting, and somehow I think if I use a fountain pen, it gets better. It might, compared to a ballpoint. Hi, Elise Time. How you doing? More see-through cases, more under 40 millimeter watches. Clark Gable really meant it cause he was supposedly into. Oh, come on, not Clark Gable. Not from what I heard. Hi, Annabelle. How you doing? Hi, Justin. Hey, first time joining a live. Love your vids. Thanks, man. Uh, I waved bye to my watch plans this year. Wife wants the whole kitchen renovated. That happened to me. Few years ago, she spent a whole really good watch for a new kitchen, and now tells me I can't use the stove because I'll break it. So I know how you feel. I suffer with you on that. Then this summer we oh God, we put in, we've got one of those horseshoe driveways. It sort of actually goes like this and then like this and everything like that. Well, we had to put a new one in, and those set us back. And then this last summer we put in a new portico for the front, totally changed the looks of the house. I like all of these things that we're doing at her behest, but it's killing my watches. So anyway, that's why I'm selling all these watches. I got about 5 watches I'm going to sell. I put up a little, and like I said, people ask me, well, aren't we going to get a chance at them first? So the answer is, okay, I'll do it for a week. I'm going to put up a little video. These are the watches. If you want one, bingo. Let me know and I'll get it to you. But I don't like using watch art science stuff for selling stuff. I just did this because somebody was complaining, and I've got enough complaints going on. Oh man. Okay. Least time. Oh yeah, that was it. I understand it. Annabelle. Yeah. Yeah, we are clue and calm. We don't I think all of us have enough vocabulary, even if English is not our first language, that we don't have to use, you know, profanity and just stuff like that. It's not needed. Doesn't help. We can focus on watches. And besides, if I clean up my act, I don't get in trouble with my wife. That's important. Friday's second appointment with the kitchen planner. Let me save you some time, leaf time. Just go away for until the whole thing is done. No, actually, you know something? I got to tell you, our kitchen is so much nicer than our old one. So as much as I, whined and complained, we have this guy who does like this really. He's one of these people who has carpentry, plan all of the talents you need for that. And he's a friend of my wife's from church, and I know his wife. We used to walk on the same walk together. Man, that guy is good. I mean, he knows everything. And so time our kitchen was finished, it is so cool. He made such a nice kitchen. He even invented a new thing for us that he hadn't done before. We close his cabinet and open it up, and out wheels a double coffee pot thing, and granite instead of whatever was on there before. And yeah, it's really nice. And drawers that don't stick. You'll like it least time. Hey, Ken, what's up? You're from Maine. Hey, that's not too far from us. Another New Englander. Hey, when different cultures, different religions, different lifestyles, but only the same thing here is fear for the wives. that's that's true. We all got to watch out for that. That's something else. I think minute 1 minute. One of the things, maybe we have people from all over the world who are part of both Watch Art Sci and High Horology Lounge, and we all get along just fine. And I think that if they let us settle all the world's problems, I think we could do a better job than the ones who are working on it now. Say, okay, what kind of watch you want? And we can decide on something, solve problem. Oh yeah, Hater, that's right. You guys had a tornado. Now that's something. Now the rancher he lives for the next tornado in Oklahoma. But rancher told me he's never seen one before. He's lived there, I guess, most of his life, or at least a good part of it. Um, yeah, yeah, no, that's a tornado in Switzerland. Come on, you know, that's crazy. That's really nuts. What if they had one in Holland, Hater? That would be even nuttier. I just got built a new house a year or so Truman, I mean, a kitchen renovation, a driveway, and a portico is nothing compared to a whole new house. I mean, there you have, man, I tell you, there are more ways that people get this, that wives distract us from watches. I don't think it's fair at all. And I'm going to keep my mouth shut or my wife will get me. Like, what? Oh, okay. Let's talk some more about things we'd like to see the watch industry do. We all agree that we'd like to see the price coming down. I'd sort of like to see this happen: quality go up and price go down. That would be a nice thing. And I'd like to see some option. If you read, I don't think anybody's read it. Ah, this is the other one. Uh, this is Daniel's Brigade book. Underneath those, this other pile of books I have is probably his most famous book. It's called, I think it's called Watchmaking. And all of the watches in watchmaking are key wound. And there's this rant by George Daniels in there. I don't know if people read it. I think it's used sort of as a reference to look stuff up in. So I was reading it, and he goes on to a rant about why we should have keyless, why we should have keys for watches instead of using the keyless works in a watch. He said, if you take out the keyless works, man, you can see how everything works. It's much clearer if you do that. Um, I'm trying to think which part of the all of this, all of the things that wind the barrel. And also, this I think is the let me see right there. That's the winding gear, and this is the barrel. And so, what if you took this out, and then below this, there's all this other stuff that make up the keyless works. And so, if you took that out, you know, and remove several of the plates and bridges, you can see even more. I tell you, my ideal watch for seeing the movement, and it's one of the most beautiful watches I think ever made. And again, it's a Marco Lang, and that's the Georg. God, I'll tell you, and it's gorgeous. It really is. That's a watch I'd love to get my mitts on, but again, too expensive. Hey, that other guy, how you doing? Any advice on getting a watch from a small company that doesn't directly distribute in your country? I really want to harboring to Florian, but I'm in the U.S. Not a problem. You can get those in the U.S. There are two companies. On the East Coast, it's Martin Pelly, I think. Um, he has the you can get them from him. He's in Philadelphia, and then on the West Coast, it used to be Passion Jewelry, but now it's called. There's a one called Horology by the Sea, and they have it, and they're in just around Carlsbad, down just north of San Diego. So you can find those. Yeah, that would be a cool watch. That has got to be. That would just be wild. I don't. Yeah, you look at it and don't look at it when you drive. You hit a tree. Love that watch. Yeah, that's a nice one. I think the Chinese watches in the affordable sector are getting better and better every day. I think the high-end ones are progressing quite nicely. You know something? I agree, Abdul. Abdul's absolutely right. If you look at the AHCI, I think it's the the independent group. There are more and more Chinese watchmakers who have joined it. What they need, I think, would be great to see in China would be a Jaime Ahsoka kind of guy he makes these beautiful watches. I think there's the talent to do it, and I think it's a place to look at. Like this is I joke about my Seagull, which is a clone of a Unitas, but when you look at the ETAs, most of those are somebody else's, like Valjoux or Unitas. But this is a good adjustable movement. And like I said, I got that thing down to 1 second. 1 second a day. My God, watches costing a lot more than our Breguet Nouveau. Something by pretentious watchmakers. Okie doke. What do you got here? Let's see. Just got his butch on watchmaker from the library. Fantastic. He's got everything in there about, I think he made it. I think you could George Daniels is the kind of guy that he'd give him a pile of dirt, and by the end of the day, he'd make a watch out of it somehow. Yeah, Abdul, I think the next place to really look to is for some really interesting watches. Um, I think you need more people like the independents, uh, and fewer people who make perfect watches with silicone hairsprings. You want a perfect watch? Get a smartwatch. I can understand ditching keyless works for a pocket watch, but I can't imagine the hassle of needing a key for a wristwatch. David, you ought to see what you you ought to see what George Daniel. Well, they can't keep a key. They shouldn't have a watch. It's really funny. I like my wind up and having my crown and all of that stuff, and I don't have to think about that. But on the other hand, I really haven't had. I bought I bought everything for a keyless watch with a key and everything. And then I even had a case and had it. Literally, it was great looking watch. Then I broke it, so I'll have to hold my. But that wind it up. Whether you wind it up with a crown or whether you wind it up with a key, it would be a hassle. But what I mean. Look, if you like me, if you just like hand wound watches, it's a hassle. If you just want automatics, that's a hassle. If you want a smartwatch, maybe that's not much of a hassle other than putting it on the winder. Okay, but not the winder, but the charger. Um, yeah, I don't know. I have if you can't. I mean, winding it, getting the key, remembering where the key is, not losing it, so that George Daniels doesn't call you names. It was, boy, I think it would be fun. Let's see. John, let me see. Burgess. I'd like to see less lines of watches in the manufacturer's catalogs and more creativity in the best lines. Good one. That's a great one, John. I like that one too. Do I like Chinese tourbillons? I'm not much of a tourbillon fan. Okay, and again, that's me. It has nothing to do with anything else. There's a place that's called Perpetual Watches in Hong Kong, and I wanted to check off having a regulator watch. And so I got a $200 regulator by Perpetual Watches. That watch has been great. So I got my Perpetual regulator. They also make tourbillons. And so if I decided to get a tourbillon, that's what I'd do. I'd go to Perpetual and say, "Hey guys, it's me. quit hiding, quit locking the door." And I would like to get a tourbillon. That's how I'd go with a tourbillon. I mean, apparently there are some tourbillons. I think the one at FP Journe he made a vertical one or something with the like the wheel comes out this way on the cage, but most of them aren't the cat's pajamas, so to speak, for wristwatches. They're great for pocket watches. Pocket watches are always in the same position, okay? And so if you got a tourbillon, that's so that it'll sort of give you a different position for the uh, not regulator, but the balance for the balance wheel going around. What is your opinion on fun watches like Elaine Silverman? I like them. I do. It was also too the guy who does the funny faces, and some of them have sort of gotten together and they have these fun watches. Not it's funny. It's one thing liking them, but another thing I wouldn't probably wouldn't go out of my way to buy one. In fact, I wouldn't go out if it wasn't out of my way. Not something I'd want, but that doesn't mean I can't like them. Okay. People say, well, how come you hate Rolexes? I don't hate Rolexes. I've got nothing against them. In fact, as long as they keep that parachrome hairspring, I love them. And what I do is I feel sorry for some of the watchmakers there. And the reason I do, I don't think they allow them to really express their creativity. When they do and come up with something like, what was it, the 2004 reintroduction of the Prince, look what they did. They do this beautiful horology. So like I said, I've got nothing against Rolex. Feel a little bad for the watchmakers working for them, and I'm sure they learn a lot there too. And the quality is, there's excellent quality, production quality, and so forth. But you don't hold your breath for innovation there. Hi, Michael M. I just bought the same regulator from Perpetual Watch. Shipping, thanks for the mentioning the brand. Michael, they raised the price. I got mine for 200. Now they're 220. Glad I got it when the prices were down. I'm not going to rub that in. Hey, Truman, more transparency and honesty. Truman, I couldn't agree more. But it's sort of like asking for an honest politician. We hope. Oh yeah, Michael, that's a great deal. It really is. They make good watches. One of the interesting things about those watches is that they come with blued hands. And the guy's got a little write-up about it. He says, we don't use a chemical process. We don't paint them blue. We use a fume. They use the heat method for getting blued hands. And that's more than you can say for a lot of companies where you have them. These are blued also the same way, except you can't get these for $200 anymore. Never could. While we've seen watch sizes come down, not all brands have done that. I've been hoping that Black Pawn to launch a 40 millimeter bathoscope. Yeah, I think Larique watches, we started with 39 millimeters, and probably the highest we'll ever go would be 40, maybe 41. I don't 38 would probably be the lowest. That's sort of the sense that I have. I don't know how the other guys feel. But yeah, some of them are getting so big they look like frisbees. And this one, I had a hard time fitting. This is a 41 millimeter for what amount to a 6498 size movement. And I'm glad I got it. I don't like them much bigger. And besides, this is going to my grandson, so he's one of them. The other ones didn't care for him. I wish Swiss watch industry, including the percent of the parts made outside of Switzerland for watches branded Swiss made. Let me tell you something, Abdul. I found out. I'm not sure if any of the sapphire cases are made in Switzerland. I could be wrong, but that was sort of somebody had suggested that we use some outside of Switzerland stuff. And I told him there was no way Larique was going to do that. And he said, well, what about the sapphire cases or sapphire glass on your case? And he didn't say anything. I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? And I was like, he went mum after that. So I don't know. I really don't know. It's sort of interesting. Hey, Abdul Lim, how you doing? Totally agree with Abdul R. These days, I'm looking at the double hairspring Moser. Any idea if those are worth 35,000 in stainless steel? They're worth 50,000 in stainless steel. I've got one, and they are fantastic watches. They really are. Um, they've sort of been rediscovered, thank God, by Moser. I used to bug them about it. When I got mine, they were thinking, I got the Henry, which was the first one. And I said, this thing is great and it works like it's supposed to. Um, and they were, I said, how come you're not making Henrys anymore? I said, well, we're thinking about putting them in the Alpine. I think it was called the Alpine. And, or the Swiss, or maybe a Swiss Alpine, something like that. And, he said, well, it's very expensive. That's why. And he said, engineering, having double hairsprings is extremely difficult. Recently, um, the guy that I had my picture taken with at the last, oh, what's his name? The guy who just came out with a stacked double hairspring. I'm can't think of his name off the top of my head, but anyway, that was something. He built a prototype and had to build a whole sort of like a little workbench to get it working on, and he finally did. And now we're waiting for the watches themselves. Yeah, but boy, if you can get your mitts on one of those. For years, I told people, get one of those double hairspring strings while they're still available. And there were some great ones people could pick up for maybe, I don't know, 8, 9, 10,000, somewhere right in there. And no, they don't like them because they were too big. And they are. They're a big boxy thing. Love mine. Yeah, that's right. I don't have luck driving. Modern Rolex really doesn't do it for. I quite like the vintage watches from 50s and 60s when explorers and James Bond wore them and innovated with their designs. They're just a bit boring now. I'll tell you, if they put in silicone hairsprings, they'll be more boring. Trust me, they'll be perfect. It's sort of like the Stepford wives of watches. I think cost has to be more than 50% included in Swiss. Yeah, it does. Yeah, we could call our Swiss made right away because I think we spend almost half on the movement. Jacob and Company make their. This is Jacob the jeweler you're talking about, Finnegan. Okay, all right. Apparently, it takes one guy a whole month to hand polish it. Yeah, I think that's why they may have imported some. And they charge $1 million more for a sapphire case over a gold. Oh, wow. But a step for, yes, perfect and boring. Very boring. What I couldn't find out about Moser double hairsprings is whether they have an actual effect. Yes, they do. Let me explain what happens, okay? This is something I love to talk about, the double hairsprings. I used to fly, and during the takeoff run, the torque of the prop would pull it, I think, to the left. We had to give it some right rudder, or it was to the right. We had to give it a left rudder. One of the two. But if with the twin engines, they have the props going in opposite directions, and so the torque from one direction uh, was pulled by the other one, and so they sort of balanced each other out. Well, they did some experiments, actual research using double hairsprings. And what they found is that the balance shaft uh, with double hairsprings didn't squiggle all over the place. The Breguet bent, the Breguet twist, what do they call it? the Breguet curl, whatever. That also helped keep it from going back and forth. But the double hairspring even more so. So that's yes, they do work. And that's why I think they brought them back. There's a couple watches now that Moser has them in. I forgot which models they were, but good to see. Oh, Abdul, it's probably very expensive. I talked to what's the guy's name? He's really a neat guy. The guy who's the CEO of H. Moser. I had an interview with him right before the pandemic. Edward Medon. I asked him about that. I said, I got one of these double hairsprings. I said, will you guys still service it? He said, sure. So, so there. I would, if you're going to worry about cost for service, you probably shouldn't get one of these really good watches. This has been serviced twice. Both times it came back just beautiful. And then after a while, it needed some more. I had my Parmigiani Colpa. The stem fell out, and it was pretty old. Not when I say pretty old, like early 2000s maybe. Boy, I sent that to the Parmigiani service place in Miami. That thing came back, it was like a brand new watch. And then my Chanel, and it was expensive too. Now, the one great deal that I got was on the Chanel Monsieur. Now, those things are, God, I don't know, they're going for around 45 right now. And the 40, 45 right in there. And they, a couple of us were having some issues with it. So I took my Chanel to I think there are 3 boutiques at least in New York City, sort of around Midtown or near the park and Fifth Avenue in that area. And so there's one of them that you can go to, and they'll take care of it for you. So I took my Chanel into them, and there was there are these 2 guys that I think they were looking for somebody to hit out in front. You sort of walk through them and, oh, come on in, welcome. I just, there's so much. I mean, there's muscle that they have at the door at these places now. So we go in there and I say, well, you have to go up to the 6th floor. So my friend Fernando and I went up to the 6th floor. We're waiting, and this Asian lady comes out. Man, she knew her stuff backward and forward, and just fill out this form, and so forth. And she said, well, when we get it fixed, take about 6 months, and we have to send it to Switzerland. And you can either come and get it, or we'll have it sent directly to you. So I said, okay. I said, well, let me know when it's done, and I'll either, if we're coming to New York, I'll pick it up. If not, you can send it to me. So about 2.5 months later, got an email. Your watch is ready. Would you like us to send it to you, or you want to come and get it? Well, at the time I was busy. I said, well, come on, you go ahead and send it. Here's what they did. Apparently, they had all of these different stamps on it. It goes to, and I can't think of the town that they do it in, but it's in the same town that Romain Gauthier is in. And so, in case they need some help or a part. So they took it in there. That thing came back, things working perfectly, just as beautiful. And they didn't charge me anything. There was no charge whatsoever. I bought it used for half of what the price was. And the thing is it's one of those things. So we talk about service. I think if you're going to buy a really good watch, that's part of the price of it. If you buy a cheap watch, join pretentious watchmakers and learn how to fix it yourself. Okay, let's see what's going on. Uh, I think an ordinary consumer has no appreciate. No, they don't. This is for nuts like us, Abdul. Ed Malin, yeah, he's really a cool guy. Hiya, Junior. How you doing, Junior? I'm guessing you don't like Grand Seiko's spring drives either. Everybody raves about them. They're wonderful engineering, okay? Finnegan, I love great engineering. That's one thing about Seiko watches. You have great engineering. I got my Seiko 5 here as an example of, there's more. I think there were 5 different innovations when the Seiko 5 came out in 1963. Seiko's watches are great. They really are. They're excellent watches. The spring drive is an example of, brilliant engineering. It's a quartz watch. I don't want a quartz watch. you know, and I don't want silicon. It's like the old time rock and roll. I'll take the old, get old time rock and roll. The same thing is give me the old time horology. And they have, because I think there's so much more fun with it that you can have. I don't know if you guys saw the video that I did. God, I think it was just a few days ago on how to regulate your watch with my homemade thing that I did to show everyone how to do it. I enjoy doing that, and what it does, it helps you understand a lot. So that's, to me, is that you can touch it. You can touch the horology. Somehow, I don't think with a spring drive I could. And also, too, I think a watch should have a soul. And as soon as they put silicon in it, they lose their soul. And it becomes, I don't know what, a Stepford wife. So Moses should hire engineers from Sikorsky Helicopters. Sure, that'd be great. They don't have to. They have precision engineering. Those guys are really top notch. They were the ones, well, not them, but they developed the Strassman hairspring and balance, so there. I want to see what will happen with the Bethune watches. I'd love to have one. They bought Rouge from the Music Box. I don't know who they are last year, but I haven't seen any watches out of this collaboration. Hader, we're also waiting to see what Kari Vuitton is doing with Urban Jorgensen. Hey, Ken R., how come you don't like silicone hairsprings? Oh, God. Ken, I don't dislike them. I just don't want them. I want watches with adjustable hairsprings. How's that for an answer? If I want silicon, look, I worked in silicon. I was writing apps for mobile devices before I retired, and they're fine. You can whip up an app for one of the most complex chronographs you could ever see, and it's a different kind of thing. Mechanical watches. Oh, by the way, too, Ken, it's the same reason that the Geneva Seal wouldn't give a Geneva Seal to Patek Philippe once they switched to silicone hairsprings. I'm not the only one, And again, if you had time and you said, okay, I'm going to give you 2 watches. One's got a silicone hairspring and the other one has a traditional one. And your life depends on having the correct time. I'd take the silicone. Even better, I'd take a smartwatch. All right. But I didn't get into this nuts hobby. I did it for the craftsmanship. I like to get as close to the craftsmanship as possible. That's why. But if you like them, that's fine. Love them. Gautier's and Valdejou, I believe he could be. Yeah, I think they. I know that Chanel was going on and on about they got their own watchmaking thing and yak 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 yak. Most of their stuff is done in Paris, and I'm trying to think. I spent some time actually learning when they moved from Paris to Switzerland, the watchmaking arm of it, and it's always more complex than I like to think. They had some guy there, and then he did this, and then they bought part of Roman Gauthier, and then they worked with him to develop the what's in my watch called the Chanel one. You know, an interesting thing is that the Chanel J12. To me, the Chanel J12 is one of those under the radar watches. Their new version is based on the Tudor M. Let me see, what do they call them? MT 254, something like that. It sort of it is and it isn't. It's one of those things that there's some parts of it that were inspired by that. And then they came up with the 12.1 movement at Chanel, and that's put in a J12. The older ones in Chanel are all ETA. Enjoy them. They're great. I mean, they're great watches, and they really are. They're just not kind I like. Close as you can get to the 4 level of finishing. Yeah, that would be, the Japanese I mean, he was really an impact. He went over there for a while and talked with, I think it was with Seiko, about the techniques he used for anglaise. And so it doesn't surprise me to have great anglaise. Hey, Brian, how you doing? Had to walk the dog. Oh, I don't blame that dog. Dogs are important. At one time, I did some stuff for Apple. In fact, they still send me. they, I was a professor. I wasn't, and so I did some of the stuff as part of being a professor. And in fact, I had a contract at one time with Apple when they were during their crazy years. Uh, they gave me a little red Apple. They went through some weird stuff, and now they're coming out the other end with the this virtual kind of things they're doing. Is really with AI. It's heavy stuff. Why are some IWC over 10K when they don't have quality in-house movements? I like the looks. I've always had that problem BMatic with IWC. I never trusted them. They have these, they and Breitling and some other companies they sort of have these ETA movements, and they have some phony baloney caliber name that makes them sound like they're in-house. So to me, it's if it's you don't have to hate something not to like it. Okay, let me put it this way: the things I would rather have. I have nothing against Rolexes. I have nothing against Seikos. In fact, I still have one. There are a lot of watches I have nothing against. They're just not what I want. But see, there's a big difference there. You don't have to hate something not to want it. There's just other things you want. Like, I really wanted one of these. And I waited until, one came along, like a vulture in a tree. I waited and I saw this and pounced on it and got it. And it's been I just had it for a few days, and it's just been so cool. I keep looking at it. I'm so excited. I'll go out and try to build another watch and see how many things I can break in it. I've seen trays of silicone hairsprings, not very appealing. Now they come out in sheets. I used to work in I was up to here in silicone when I was working on computer stuff. I had a thing once, some gig I put together. They had this is way back when, back in the 80s. Um, the first Mac I had was 128K, and they weren't very powerful. And so they had this one thing called a Monster Mac, and a Monster Mac was a chip and stuff, and you put the chip in, and you did all of this other stuff. They had to take it apart, and so I started putting Monster Macs into people's Macintoshes for them. It was fun. I see. Yeah, yeah, well, they come out. I think they come out. It looks like they come out in sheets. You get a sheet of here you go. Put these in your paddock, Philippe. The other thing too is that everything around it is, I think, pretty standard horology, and then they put the silicon in, so it's not. I guess they have to say, well, it's sort of like a watch. Chanel J12 isn't that expensive. I didn't think so. Compared to a Tudor, they're not. That's why I think they're a good buy. And they don't. I mean, the best thing about it, for if you want to have one, is they don't hold their costs. They don't. Their values of watches don't change. What changes is what people are willing to pay for them. And so, your J12, the price drops like a rock. So you buy it. Here's a tip: buy it when the price is down. Remember where you heard that first. Hey, Joseph, how you doing, man? How are things in Amsterdam, old bud? Abdul, I got into mechanical watches and I have no idea how. Honest, I don't. I have no idea. I wasn't into them. I needed a hobby when I retired and had started this, and then sort of went out of hand. Hey, Rancher. I know that thing, oh, bud, I tell you, that just worked out really well. Okay, wait a minute. Bud and Hater, that we're not supposed to have two Dutchmen on at the same time. That's the limit. There's only one at a time is all we can handle. I don't know. I think I told you guys, one summer I had a grant and I was studying European criminology, and I was at the University of Leiden in Holland. Had a great time in the Netherlands. Just I tell you, was there for a good part of a summer. Just there was a guy from who was a criminologist from United Nations, and he was sort of had organized this thing, and a fellow graduate student and I went to that. Just had a ball. Loves It's such an interesting country. Now this was back in the 70s, so I imagine things have changed quite a bit. But I really had a good time. I know, but no, you guys, I just giving you a hard time. I know that's one thing I found out, that the Dutch are very literal minded, right? Did you get ASML? I'm not sure what that stands for. Ah, ASML. Well, look, guys, I rattled on for almost an hour. In fact, over an hour. So I better fold up my camp before uh, anything goes south. And thanks for coming too. And like I said, I'm gonna put up a video And this is simply the watches I'm selling. It's going to be up for a week and then I'm taking it down. But this was not my plan. This was saying, well, how come we can't get to see it first? So that's gonna come up maybe later today. I'll have it up. All right. Take care, guys. We'll see you.